So the Sith is Set, the Jedi is Judah, doing the interchangeable vowels. And you see this in the Egyptian wordplay itself, right? You see Sutek and Set. I can't remember too many more off the top of my head, but there's a whole bunch of them in Egyptian wordplay where they use the interchangeable vowels very obviously. Okay, and of course this is something that they emit themselves. Okay, so there's the Millennium Falcon, Han Solo. You have Luke Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker. I went over Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? By the time you add the Skywalker, the Millennium Falcon, and Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi, we're talking about African religions here. We're talking about the Igbos, the Niger. Osiris is the Lord of the Black. Their version is that Osiris came from northern Egypt. He actually came from southern Egypt, maybe even outside of Egypt. Their version is that that Horus came from northern Egypt, or the Mediterranean, southern Mediterranean basin in Europe or whatever. He actually came from southern Egypt and probably outside of Egypt. Okay, they're doing God's plan in reverse, and the Nile flowed south to the north, except for when you reach the first cataract, I believe. There's a splitting of the Nile according to the book, where the Nile then starts flowing north to south. So you kind of get to Egypt and things are backwards. And the water's flowing upwards, right? And it gets confusing. Okay, so let us shoot through this, shall we? The Gai G is a word for white people, right? You could say it is the black Gi. Okay, the Gai Gi, okay, which is the black Gi, and the white Gi is more associated with the soft style with the woman. All right, so Russian roulette. Rush on or rush in and rule A, right? So to get people to commit suicide is a part of this. The Sphinx, the spin the X, okay, versus the spine, right? And so on, and the spine A, and there's a lot of wordplay involved in that. Just shoot through this. The Heliopolis, Heliopolis, the heliocentric model. Okay, mode L, of course, Chemis was the call center of men. It was a floating isle in the Mediterranean. I'll get into that into the next video, where one of the Greco-Roman versions of Horus has to do with him being in Chemis. So the chemistry substituting, itself for the martial arts perspective is a part of this. If you don't remember anything else, remember the African martial arts perspective is removed from the Egyptian mythology in our history books to a large degree, to the point where people don't see it that way, even though it's so fucking obvious that that's such a key part in African culture. And you do not see so many things in Western culture that are pervasive in African culture that overlap with Egyptian culture. So it is preposterous to suggest that this thing came from anywhere else but deeper in Africa. Okay, so Jah saw it. All right, Jah sun, I. Okay, so the heliocentric model, mode L, the model, right? A leader versus a misleader. Okay, lead backwards is deal. Okay, so remember, when you do the word play, it's the good spell, is what the gospel means, the word that they translate it from Greek. It means the good spell, or go spell. So extract the logical good spelling of it when you do the interchangeable vowels, where the N is the arc, and you can either apply the M or just circle it and put it above and say it's the arc, right? So there's the good spell and there's the bad spell. There's misleading you, and you have to use logic and common sense and connect the dots. You put the pieces of the puzzle together. Life is like a puzzle. Piece them together. Okay, so whenever there was a solar eclipse, ironically I drive an eclipse, Apep was imagined to swallow the solar boat. And so there's a lot of, these things are stories, these things are parables, right? The tortoise racing the hare. If we couldn't find any evidence in history of a tortoise racing a hare, does that mean that the story is stupid and these people are fucking dumb? Of course not. I believe that was Aesop's fables, and there's probably wordplay there. I'm not going to go over that right now. So the Igbo tribe, the long bow, a bow, long range, get along, a long, a longing, right? And of course, The leopard is a long cat, and he is, even in the book by Peter Ham, is symbolized, Ra is symbolized by, they say, a cat or a lion, because they're trying to avoid using the word leopard, because in archaeology we know that, and so on, in history and so on, we know that the leopard is associated most in Africa with the Zulus, who are south of Egypt, all the way down to South Africa, and southwest, which is the Igbo tribe. These are the tribes that are most associated with the leopard as far as popular culture, as far as we know. And of course, there must be other tribes that use these as well. But in Igbo land, especially, there's a king buried in the, wearing a leopard costume, and there's leopard societies that were Igbo secret societies. So the Kalunga, right? The lung to put in order, right? The Ka, the great Ka, so to speak, the great spirit, put things in order. Kalung A, call and go, kill and go. All right, so kill the spirit and go the right direction. There's a lot of things you can get from this. All right, so Haru can also be seen as aura when you remove the H. All right, so a lot of the good stuff here, it kind of is disheartening. Is later on in my notes. Bear with me. Okay. Ka up and on earth, a art, paint, the picture. Hitler was an artist. Evolution, evil, right? Evolve, medieval, right? And of course, evol backwards is love, right? So evolution, okay. Logos, mayat, okay. Logos, so backwards is so goal, so twist. Because goal in Angola, in capoeira, in martial arts, the word goal, it means to twist. Now this might be a bit of a stretch because it's more of an African term, but it might not be because the Masons have been aware of it for a while. I don't know when that word came to be. All right, so you have to do the timeline, think logically, figure this thing out. God send, God speed, a prosperous journey, success. The golden eagle, look up the golden eagle. Evection, right? The perturbation of the moon's orbit due to the sun. All right. Evolution can also refer to emissions, right? And of course, Shu was a god associated with air, the atmosphere, because of Tefnut, Nut, and Jeb. Look it up. Exalt also means to intensify. So if you exalt a certain spirit of existence and culture, you're intensifying that spirit of that culture. Okay, so spiritual animosity, right? Animation, anime, animal, right? Spiritual animosity, right? The animosity between the snake and the hawk, okay? Western values, cultural values, okay? Cheaters never spiritually prosper. So they go to the spirit realm unprepared. Okay? Unprepared. They're not paired with their Ka in the sky. They're not paired with their suitable mate in the afterlife and so on. Prepared. Pair with the spirit of God. Jesus came to bring a sword, right? So we look at work. The word work backwards is crow. And of course, Brandon Lee is symbolized by the crow. Aten backwards is not a when you do the wordplay. Ray, sun ray versus the center, which is Ra. So Ra is the spiritual core, the pharaoh, the essence, essence, the center of the sun. Ray is just another ray. So it's all the rays saying, no, we're more important than the sun, is their basically argument by democratizing the pharaoh's position. And we'll go into that later about how Ra used to be the sun. The pharaoh used to be associated with the sun and the masculine energy. The spiritual masculine energy has to do with Hu and Sia, authoritative or commanding utterance, and the seat of intelligence, which had to do with conscience. Conscience, right? Conscience and character. Okay. And of course, the character has to do with symbols. I'm sure you figured that one out. Okay. Able to sense because of martial arts spirit genius and raw production genes. Okay. The woodpecker, right? Ray keep the wood. The wolf is the flow. Okay. This is a key one, right? The woodpecker and the wolf are the martial arts. Mars in Rome, his animals were the woodpecker and the wolf. The woodpecker backwards is Ray keep. When you do the sound, sometimes you have to use the sound, right? Woodpecker. So you ignore that there's a C and a K. You just make it the K, and you get Ray keep. And and the wood just stays the same. Ray keep wood. and wolf backwards is flow. So they want to control the reproduction. The wood, the magic wand, the tree of life, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Re, keep the wood and the flow of the wood, the driftwood on the Nile, and so on. Okay, the temple, right? El Pet. Okay, so temple backwards with the M as the arc is El Pet. Okay, Pro-Pet, the cult center, the pet center, right? Bubastis for Bast, and Abydos for Osiris, and Nekhen for the hawk, the city of hawks for Heru, and so on. All right. The temple of Aten Ra, the blacks in Southern California, right? They're helping them usurp the pharaoh, the Boule Society, the Prince Hall. It is people who are helping to usurp the pharaoh because Set is also a form of Ra or a son of Ra, and we'll get into that later. So Queen Isis, Mason Knight, okay? Mason is nose A, no being the sound. I forgot what's called ontology or whatever. Nose A, okay? Nay, say, okay? The M is the arc. Noose A, hang 'em, right? The knot of Isis and hanging from a tree, okay? Cursed is he who hangs from a tree in the Bible, all right? The difference between Rio and America, and how the Masons were perhaps more concentrated in America, at least more effectively with more European countries. The Rio is more like the Dutch and the Portuguese or something, where America you had the French, the British, where Masonry comes from, and that's how they were able to identify the martial artists and screen them out more effectively instead of having full-fledged riots like I believe Zumbi or Kumbi and Palmares and so on. Okay. Part of this I'm going from my notes, part of it I'm going off the top of my head. Again, you'll have to forgive the minor discrepancies. The overall picture is right. This is a martial arts war with them excluding the black martial artists to control reproduction to where I can't even get a date from my own people. And after they gang stalk me, they won't, they certainly won't date me after that, right? After they start running psyops on me and financially sabotaging me, women don't really care. I dated this one. I was talking to this one female on the internet. She dressed up as Catwoman and blah blah blah, and of course Batman is part of Egyptian mythology. Google Egypt and Batman, and so on. Of course, baseball, right? Ball, play ball, the ball game, right? Ball, bull, Bel, the Canaanite deity El, Bel, right? Ba El, the soul associated with the body, the Ba El, the goat associated with the Ba, all right, or the ram. So again, I'll do the tree. Okay, man, we're moving a lot slower than I want to. Okay, form, right? Form backwards is roof, right? So the roof, to accept the capstone, Pharaoh as Haru, and Ra as the invisible capstone to complete the pyramid. You need God to communicate to the Son of God, the Pharaoh as the Son. The Pharaoh, he's fair. He's a martial artist mind that's fair, not a scientist, not an old money pussy, but he's a pharaoh. Okay, the alpha, El Fo, do the wordplay. Omega, O age with the M as the arc. Okay, a lame roof. If you don't get the M as the arc, think a rainbow. A lame roof, bad spill. That's an example of the bad spill. Okay. I'm not quite sure where I got the lame. Well, I have to keep going. Oh, a lamb form the roof. Good spell. I'm gonna have to figure that out and get to it on the next video. Okay, make a mental note. All right, moving on. Bad gambling, right? Game bull. Gamble. Game bull. Okay. Alpha male animal. So the animals have alpha males. So this is part of how we know that the martial art order should have an alpha male. Society should have an alpha male. This is the natural. This is what you get from nature, right? The kingdom of God, the animal kingdom, right? The kingdom of Egypt, okay? The old, middle, and new kingdom, right? The divine order, the Mayat. Also, the ostrich feather was how you put shoe. My name Chuku has everything to do with shoe, okay? You can see the C as an S, shu, ku. But it means Chi Uku as well, the great Chi. So no matter how you slice it, it's a martial art name. I've gone over that before. I'm going to have to go over this page again. There's some stuff I'm kind of fuzzy about. Okay, the lion's mane, the manna from heaven, the E name, A name, the hair, the air, the pride, the true pride, the false pride. Okay, the soul, air. Before Abraham, I am, the age and experience, the soul age, the spirit age versus the age of an old, demented old man, right? The spirit that you're connecting to. The wise, back, wordplay is a soul. The spirit, spirit. Okay, we'll go to part 3.